When you talk to these men or whenever you discuss these things with men who say, I'm loyal, they haven't even got any options. It's like talking to the broke guy. I'd never buy a Ferrari. Bro, you have no fucking money. Nobody cares what you'd buy. You can't buy one. So your opinion is irrelevant. Now, if you talk to all of the very successful men, you live in Dubai, go to Dubai, go talk to all of the successful men. What will they all say? The same as me or the same as Jackass who says he wants to be with one girl his whole life?
Well, a lot of the men that I speak to have the ability to buy a Ferrari, so if they choose not to buy one, it's out of a choice, not a necessity.
Correct. The point I'm making is that if you go to a place like Dubai or Miami, these places where it's hyper-capitalistic, you will see a very rich man with a whole bunch of pretty girls on his table. Every time. Every time. You will not see a man with just his wife. Maybe you will at dinner sometimes, but if he goes to the club, sometimes, not all the time, sometimes, he'll go on a yacht, sometimes. This is life. This is what successful men do. This is life. As a female, you can make a choice. You can say, look, I want a loyal loser, or I want to share part of a winner. I mean, females have the prerogative. Women say all the time, I just want a loyal man who cares about me. They're everywhere. They work in Starbucks. Off you can go get one. Go buy a latte and take Mr. Minimum Wage, and you'll get everything you want. He'll give you all his time, he'll give you all his attention, and he'll never cheat because he can't. You don't actually want that, do you? You want a winner. Well, think about the mentality of a winner. How do you even win in the world today? You win in the world today by ignoring paradigms, by ignoring the rules, by ignoring what the Matrix wants you to do. You win in the world today by being assertive, by being greedy. You win in the world today by being the exact kind of person who can't be told what to do, does what he wants, and always wants more. That's how you become a winner. So you're surprised that a winner wants 20 girls on his table. That's his whole personality. If he didn't want 20 girls on his table, he wouldn't want 20 million in the bank. He wouldn't want 20 cars on the drive. And you wouldn't be with him.
So you almost need the pursuit of the women as well to keep you wanting to pursue
I don't
everything
pursue
else.
women. I don't pursue women. I'm on a generational streak of reproduction. I'm the repopulator of Earth. I'm going to save humanity. I don't pursue women. I don't talk from my own perspective. I'm just talking as an observer. A lot of people struggle to do that. I will sit and look at a situation and just talk about all the different sides. There's a triangle, and I will talk from all 3 points about what we see in the middle.
Because you've been at every level of it.
Well, it's just how I see it all.
Because you've been broke and not had access that you have now.
Yeah, correct.
And
now I've been rich.
And now you've been rich.
Absolutely.
Now, obviously, being rich is inherently better, but there might be people that listen to this that are starting out broke. What would your advice be then to the people that are broke listening to this, or the men that don't have the access that you're talking about right now? How can they start to get their access? How can they start to get themselves together so they can have the access?
Yeah, I mean, you're right. I've been at all levels of it, but I also talk from the female perspective as I understand it. So I do my very best. I think everything I've just said is only the tip of the iceberg. I could talk about this forever, but it's probably gonna give me enough smoke. So I'll wait till I've beaten this case and we continue. But to answer your question, what I'll do is I'll answer with a thought paradigm. I'll answer with a way that you should construct your thoughts in general, which a lot of people don't do. If you're gonna make a chess move, you need to look at the board, which is amazing that most people don't ever want to look at the board. They need to make a chess move, so they just move. If you play an amateur at chess, they'll just randomly move something. You'll say, why did they move it? Oh, I don't know. But you can't win that way. You play a grandmaster, the first thing he does is stare at the board. So it doesn't matter if you're entering the dating market or business or the online, anything. You need to analyze the grounds, right? You need to understand where you're going. If you're going to go to battle, the first thing you're going to do is look at a map and see the geography. I'm talking from a perspective outside of myself about the current dating market, the world we live in. The dating market in Dubai is very different than the dating market in Nebraska or Vladivostok or Japan. In Japan, your family may find you somebody. In India, it may be linked to your caste. In Dubai, it's all about the money. Same in Miami. In rural Nebraska, you may have just met your high school sweetheart. Who knows? It's down to you to look at the board and then decide, how do I position myself to try and win this game, right? The way I would try and find a wife in Dubai is completely different than the way I'd try to find a wife somewhere else.
You'd find a wife in Dubai?
I don't think so. But if I wanted to, it's a different game. You have to understand the board before you make a move on it.
You and I both know there are no wives in Dubai.
Well, this is it. So why? This is the point. This is the exact point.
So I wouldn't be trying to play the wife game in Dubai.
So what game are you playing?
Well, not the wife game.
Well, that's it. So there's only two other games, which is hedonism or reproduction. And I decided that reproduction, and perhaps this is cope.
What game?
No, but all of us, I don't want to make something very clear for everybody watching at home. Every single person copes. Every single person rationalizes their own decisions. Every single person comes up with a good excuse in their mind for why they do what they're not supposed to do. Every single person does. Everybody will go out there and do something that they know perhaps the Bible or the Quran says they shouldn't do, but they'll do it and they'll rationalize it. Perhaps I've rationalized promiscuity, saying, but I'm creating children. I'm not hedonistic. I'm creating kids. I'm a good person. But am I? Or do I just want all those beautiful women to adore me? We have to analyze. I'm being as a professional. You have to look at both sides of the coin.
I think that at some part in your earlier days, there was perhaps a woman that maybe rejected you when you didn't have the money, maybe chose someone who was richer than you, potentially back in the day. And potentially you thought to yourself, do you know what, I'm going to elevate my character, I'm going to elevate my status, and when I have the money and when I have the power, I'm going to use it and I'm going to take it further forward.
Well, I think every man has been rejected by women.
It's a rite of passage.
No, yeah, exactly, of course. Every man's been rejected by women. I can't say I haven't lost women because I'm 37, so I've lost hundreds of women. I don't think there's one in particular. However, every man has been rejected by women, that's true. But you can take that paradigm and you can apply it to nearly anything in life. You become a better fighter after you get knocked down. You become richer after you can't afford to eat. You become better with women after you get heartbroken. That's just the masculine experience is based within suffering anyway. You fail at something and you try again. That's the masculine experience. This is why men and women think so differently, because everything I said about innocence, you don't want a woman to be coarsened. So you don't want her to have experience of life, because if she has experience of life, life is suffering and life is pain. If she goes out there into the world to experience things and become knowledgeable in and of herself, there's no way she can do that without becoming harder and less soft, because the world is so vicious to people. So as a man, you become a better man by suffering, whereas a woman becomes a much worse woman by suffering. So as a man, what you actually want to do is go through so much suffering that you become such a fantastic man that you can find a woman who's never suffered and prevent her from ever suffering. So I'm going to be called all the horrible names for this podcast, but truthfully what I'm saying is a man should suffer and go through so much pain and agony that he becomes such a fantastic man that he could find a woman who's never had to suffer ever and ensure she never does. That's the ultimate protection and provision. That's the way the balance works.
So the scars make the man better in a lot of areas of his life, whereas scars make women harder in the emotional element.
Well, scars aren't attractive. Do men find scars attractive on women? No. Do women find scars attractive on men? Yes. And that's even in the physical manifestation of what we just discussed from a psychological perspective. So it's literally just the way it works. A man used to have to go away to war and come back a war hero to find a wife who's never been to war. You don't want a wife who's been to war. Nobody wants a wife who's been to the trenches. You want a man who's been to the trenches and survived. This is the dynamic, right? So, I mean, we look at the Dubai market, it's very interesting, but you have all these women out there with a whole ton of experience. They're becoming coarsened by it. And when I say coarsened, I'm not saying they're bad people. I'm saying that it's very hard for them to fall in love deeply because they've been on X amount of boats and X amount of supercars, slept with X amount of men, on X amount of private jets, X amount of trips. And you're going to come and pick them up and you're going to try and get some genuine emotion from their hearts, but it's all just been squeezed dry. There's nothing left.
It's desensitization is what's happened.
Completely.
You get desensitized to a certain level of life, and once you've lived it, and once you've seen it so many times at that level.
Even more importantly, you get desensitized to the idea of losing your man. When a woman loses her first boyfriend, it's a heartbreak. It's Taylor Swift. It's 2 years by herself. It's crying every day. It's writing in her diary. It's a big deal. Women become desensitized to losing their man. By the time they lose their 10th man, they don't give a fuck. And they're out in the club next day getting a new man. And before you know it, that's how it goes. And you can call me every name under the sun. Let's do a scientific experiment. How long does it take a woman to go over her first boyfriend compared to how long does it take a woman to go over her 10th boyfriend?
Yeah.
Now, I don't think men are actually like that. I think men, if they can truly love a woman at any level, you can sleep with 1,000 women and you cannot give a shit about number 798 to number 812. And the number 813 you can be obsessed with, and then you can lose her and be upset about it. And then you can go back to 814 up to 903 and not give a shit again. Men, no matter how many women we sleep with, retain the capability and ability to fall in love with the right woman because we fall in love via their innocence. If you give a man, no matter how many women he slept with, a good enough woman, he will fall in love with her anyway. Whereas a woman can't. If a woman slept with enough men, you can give her the best man And she will never fall in love with him because she's broken now.
The women that I've fallen in love with in life are always the ones that have cost me the most stuff, you know, and taught me that they teach you a lesson in that.
That's where the scars from.
There's a lesson in that. You need a little bit of heartbreak. You need a little bit of emotion in there. You know what I'm saying?
Well, that the true red pill. The true red pill. The true red pill is that the heartbreak part is the best part.
Yeah.
That's the real love. The whole holding hands, everything's happy, we're out at dinner, smiling, laughing. No, that's boring. The true memory of love, the actual real fun part of the love is the part where you feel the deepest, and you feel the deepest when it goes wrong. Yeah. And we can apply that to everything. That's the funnest part of life. The funnest part of life. It's never fun at the time, but in retrospect, when you want to use hindsight and analyze your entire life via the lens of your mind, when you go back in time, those bad times are the best times. Yeah. I miss jail. It was shit. But now me and Tristan is all we talk about because you get a strong visceral emotion from it. So it's a happy memory.
There's a few stories that you're not telling about jail.
There's a lot of stories. There's a lot of stories I'm not telling about jail.
I
might go back.
There's a few stories about female prison guards that I've heard that may or should be told on this podcast.